Severe flooding unleashed by Typhoon Saola is forcing almost 2,000 people to flee their homes in the Philippines. It is the 7th major storm to hit that country so far this year. Saola has now weakened into a tropical storm and is heading to China. Gretchen Malalad reports from Manila.
Typhoon Saola may have weakened, but it's still packing maximum sustained winds of 155 kilometers per hour near the center with gusts of up to 190 kilometers per hour. It is expected to re-intensify into a super typhoon as it turns northwestward by mid-Tuesday. During its peak over the weekend, super typhoon Saola dumped more than 200 millimeters of rain over provinces in northern Luzon, which triggered heavy flooding in dozens of communities. Hundreds of families from the provinces of Cagayan, Ilocos Sur and Isabela have fled their homes due to the flooding. There were reports of roads and bridges in Narvacan town in Ilocos Sur that were damaged. The strong current from the river swept away parts of the road, small bridges, and even a two-story concrete house collapsed into the raging river. Typhoon Saola has also enhanced the southwest monsoon, which triggered heavy rains around the country. Bacolod City, which is in the Visayas region, have reported heavy flooding in 12 towns. Floodwaters went as high as 10 feet and more than 1,000 individuals needed to flee their homes and seek shelter in evacuation centers. Typhoon Saola is expected to exit the country on Thursday morning or afternoon and is headed towards Taiwan Strait before making landfall over southeastern China on Friday evening. Gretchen Malalad, CGTN, Manila.
Here in the United States, the Gulf Coast of the U.S. state of Florida is under a hurricane warning as an approaching tropical storm is forecast to strengthen. It is expected to make landfall on Wednesday. CGTN's Nitza Soledad Perez has more.
Tropical storm Idalia is expected to rapidly intensify into a major hurricane with sustained winds of 178 kilometers per hour before reaching Florida's west coast, according to the National Hurricane Center. 46 counties in Florida are under state of emergency.
Pretty much anybody on the west coast of Florida, I mean, you can see major impacts, and so please prepare accordingly.
Life-threatening storm surge warnings are in effect for all Tampa Bay and the Big Bend region of Florida.
Storm surge can be life-threatening at just 2 to 3 feet. Some of these areas are going to experience storm surge well over 7 foot. There's not a person in this room that's over 7 foot tall.
Mandatory evacuation orders were issued on Monday in several counties ahead of Idalia's expected landfall on Wednesday. President Biden ordered federal assistance to supplement state and local efforts related to the weather emergency. Many schools across the state are closing, and Florida's governor has already activated the National Guard. But once again, authorities urge those people that live on the Gulf Coast to get ready and be prepared to avoid a repeat of last year's casualties caused by Hurricane Ian's storm surge. Nitza Soledad Perez, CGTN, Miami.
And continuing our theme, to Hawaii now, and the town of Lahaina has begun the difficult process of rebuilding after it was all but destroyed by a wildfire a couple of weeks ago. Alistair Baverstock has more.
Along the scorched waterfront in Lahaina, a few scattered buildings still stand above the ashes.
It was like time to move when we saw the black smoke coming to our home. I was ready to lose everything.
Lahaina resident Ariel Quiros fled on August 8th as flames consumed the town. When he returned days later, he was amazed to see his building still standing.
2 houses burned to the ground in my development. It seems very impossible that our home survived when literally the cars in front of us, the aluminum from inside those cars was melted to the ground. It's just incredible. It's a miracle.
Many others in Lahaina were not so lucky.
While authorities continue the search for the scores of people who remain missing, the Lahaina wildfire already ranks as the deadliest in modern US history. And beyond the human toll, at least 2,200 buildings were burned to the ground in a blaze that scorched Lahaina town.
Despite the unlikely survival of his possessions, Ariel says he has taken little pleasure from his good fortune.
Very confusing feelings, like you don't allow yourself to feel happy or to feel relief that your house is still standing, because it's a lot of damage to the entire community.
Yet for locals like Kylie Adolfo, now picking up the pieces of this burned town, the surviving structures rising out of the ashes symbolize hope for her devastated community.
It also represents hope. It's a reminder that we're here. They did not get rid of us. We're still here, and we're going to rebuild. That's what these homes are, the surviving homes, surviving families.
By some calculations, the cleanup alone could take 2 to 3 years. Both county and federal estimates put the cost of rebuilding at more than $5.5 billion. Alistair Baverstock, CGTN, Lahaina, Hawaii.
We got something to show you. It has been making the rounds on social media as the Maui Miracle House. The wildfires left a red roof house seemingly untouched by the devastation all around it. It is a wooden structure, this wooden house standing intact while its neighbors, as you can clearly see, were reduced to ashes. Now, the owners credit a new metal roof that allows for heat to dissipate, as well as removing dead vegetation all around the home. Of course, all of that is raising questions about building standards in the era of extreme weather and climate change. Now, for more on climate change and the way it is impacting the construction industry, we're joined by Stephen Wheeler. He is a professor in the Landscape Architecture program of the Department of Human Ecology at the University of California, Davis. Stephen, thanks so much. Boy, just looking at that house, what's your initial take when you see that? It just looks almost like a miracle.
Yes, but there are lots of things that can be done, and newer building codes do have fire-safe requirements in them that will preserve a lot of houses.
Okay, let's talk about climate change and how it is affecting the housing industry, because we've already had so-called climate refugees in the United States, whether they be from the state of Alaska or in some of the barrier islands off the coast of Louisiana.
Yeah, well, one of the first things is to stop producing greenhouse gases, and the way to do that is to electrify everything, to have electric heat pumps for heating and cooling, electric appliances, an electric vehicle outside, and to generate that electricity renewably with solar and wind and other means. So building codes are changing to require that, but they need to change faster. Then, in order to adapt to climate change, we need to keep residents comfortable in heat and, of course, protect them from fire. I am in a home right now where it's 100 degrees Fahrenheit, that's about 37.8 Celsius. Outside the window, about 6 feet to my right, and inside it's 74 Fahrenheit, 23 Celsius, and I don't have any AC on. It's the end of a long summer day. This building is well insulated. It has good doors and windows. It has thermal mass, which keep the cool throughout the day. And it also has a whole house fan that will ventilate and pull in the cool night air. So
Right.
This is a strategy known as passive solar design that we can use much more.
Let's talk about insurance as well, because we know the state of Florida, many insurance companies are just pulling out of there. A lot of homeowners are having difficulty even getting homeowners insurance.
That's a tough one. And there's a big question whether states are going to have to jump in and guarantee insurance. And that then distributes the risk to lots of people who don't build their houses in smart ways and to developers who don't. So we are just about to confront that question in the US and probably worldwide. That's going to be a big question too. I'm not sure what the right answer is, but building houses better is a good starting point.
It certainly sounds like it. If you look at any coast, let's take Florida, for example. After Hurricane, what was it, Andrew, back in early 90s, we saw much stricter building codes. And when we see punishing hurricanes come in now, after that, you can see the older homes devastated, the newer homes standing very strongly. So is this an example of the way people can build, and should people even build on barrier islands?
There's a lot of really simple stuff that can be done. After Andrew, they required screws instead of nails to hold the roofs onto houses. Nails pull out really easily in wind. And if you just screw it in, okay, it takes a little bit more money, but not very much, and the roof stays on the house. Lots of basic stuff like that should be in building codes. But we should also just not be building in places that are going to wash away or flood. Wetlands, barrier islands, we know those are going to be impacted. So yeah, we've got to stop doing that.
And it's very difficult to get insurance on the barrier islands. People, they're basically told by the insurance companies, look, we rebuilt you once, now it's on you.
That's a reasonable approach. And there's really no reason the public sector to bail them all out because, we're just going to have to do it again and again.
So you just have to bite the bullet at some point. Now, what about climate-friendly housing? What you talked about earlier, to me that sounds fascinating, that you're at 74 degrees Fahrenheit and outside it's 37.7 degrees Celsius. Do we run the risk, however, of seeing more gentrification in lower economic communities if we do something like this, because it is going to be costly?
Well, there are a lot of programs to underwrite low-income home weatherization, and many U.S. states have those. Doesn't take all that much money, it just takes organization, and so that can be done.
Okay, I've talked a lot about coastal areas, but Phoenix, Las Vegas, areas like that. What do you believe the future is for those areas? Because if it gets to be, boy, what it was 115, 40 days in a row in Phoenix, at what point does it just become not practical to pump that kind of air conditioning into a home?
Yeah, and also get water. That is a question we have not addressed as a society. I think we need to migrate and discourage people from living in Phoenix because it's going to be really expensive and take a lot of resources.
Do you think it's doable, getting people to migrate?
Well, it's just not going to be very comfortable there either. So
I guess they'll learn.
I think people may learn.
Okay. Stephen, it's been fascinating. I really appreciate you taking time. And boy, I'd like to come out and do a story on the way some of your ideas are now coming to fruition in some of these homes. Thanks very much.
We are slowly learning. Thank you.